Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond the South Stand, mini-series from Beyond the Barclay. We are joined this week by Stuart, who is a Coventry fan. Hi Stuart, how are you?
Thank you very much for having me on. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good. So obviously we've got a big game this weekend, Norwich Coventry. They all seem to be quite big games between us two. And what's your thoughts on the game ahead?
Well, obviously, I've looked at sort of our recent history against you guys hasn't been the greatest. You always seem to get one over on us somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I think our last win came in 2008, something
Right.
like that. I think. So it's been a while since we've had a win off you. It is always a tight game. Maybe the odd game you've beat us by a little bit more, but normally it's quite tight. Obviously, the last game that we had at the start of the season, I felt that we kind of dominated a little bit.
Yeah.
But obviously, you got a deflected goal by I think it was Signs.
Yeah, that's right.
That scored the goal. We both had chances, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously at the time you'll mention it, I'm sure, but we had Robbins in charge at that point.
Of course. Yeah. And it's obviously, again, we'll mention it later on, obviously there's been a change since then. But, I mean, talk to us a little bit about your sort of personal experiences of following Coventry down the years then. How long have you been a fan for? Are you from the city?
Yeah, born and bred in Coventry. I haven't supported anybody else. From right back from 19, I was 7 when we won the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
In 1987. I just turned, so like I said, I don't really remember supporting anybody else. My very first memory of going to a Cov game, I went with my dad and my granddad when he was alive.
Yeah.
Took me to my first game, and I actually fell asleep.
Oh no.
And sod's law that you fall asleep at a football game and the football comes and hits you in the head.
Yeah.
I've never fallen asleep since.
Be very aware, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, my obviously we've got players in common. Like, one of my favourites is Darren Huckabee.
Yeah, what a player.
That was just immense for Coventry, and there's so many goals that he scored from Cov was just unbelievable, especially against Man United and big teams. He ran United ragged in one game and he scored hat-tricks in another. So, obviously another one that I'm not overly keen on was Bellamy.
Yeah.
Mainly because of, obviously I was a lot older when Bellamy came and some of the comments that he made after, when Coventry sold him and that he didn't like Coventry and things like that. He had a really good career, don't get me wrong, Liverpool, Newcastle and other teams. But as a person, with what he said about Coventry and stuff, and being obviously born and bred in Cov, he doesn't hold any high regard for me, to be fair.
What about Dion Dublin?
Yeah, Dublin. Dublin's a weird one because obviously we bought him from United.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was a legend. He could play. He was just as good as a centre half as he was as a striker. Mm-hmm. But it's a bit of a weird one because obviously he went to Villa as well. And he's, he doesn't really, I don't feel that he talks fondly about Coventry. And again, that kind of doesn't set a good tone with me. Look, I'm not saying that he did what Craig Bellamy did, but, I think he could have been, oh, you're still there? Yeah.
Still here, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my phone just went off a minute. So look, he was a good player, good servant for Coventry, mm-hmm. And I like the history with him as well. And obviously Robbins is a link as well, isn't he?
Yeah, Mark Robbins is a great striker for us. I mean, he was always lauded with saving Alex Ferguson's job at United as well. So
yeah, he was. Yeah.
Fine player for Norwich as well. I mean, I'm just trying to think if there's any others that have sort of played down the years for both teams. There must be lots. David Bell.
We had Sammy Klingon as well.
Sammy Klingon, yeah. What a player.
Look, Sammy was a great servant. We went through patches, I think, in buying players that played well against us, and I think we bought Sammy from you, but yeah, wonder of a left foot. He scored a couple of really good free kicks and stuff as well. But yeah, I think we've got a fair few that have linked us together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, moving on to sort of your journey over the last few years then, I mean, you obviously made that final against Luton a few years ago. Talk to us a little bit about that season and sort of the seasons after, I suppose.
Well, to be fair, obviously you can't talk about our history without talking about Mark Robins himself. He took us from League Two, Johnson, as it was then, the Johnson's Paint Trophy that we won. We went up via the playoffs in League Two. Obviously, we won League One in the COVID season, and year on year, he put us in a better position. He solidified us as a championship side, what we are now, to a certain extent. But yeah, it was just an incredible run, really. We didn't start off the season very well. I think we didn't get a win until sort of October time.
Yeah.
And then in that season, we were still up and down a little bit up until about February, and that's where the run really started, where we were only beaten once by Burnley 1-0. Other than that, we either won or we drew. And it was a 16-game run that we were only beaten once, and that went from February to the end of the season.
Yeah.
And obviously we scraped in. I think we beat. I think we just nipped Sunderland. I think it was Sunderland and Millwall that season that we managed to get that fifth position for. But yeah, it was incredible. And obviously Wembley is always nice. Obviously with Robins, we've managed to call it our second home. Because we've been there 4 times in 7 years under Robins. So it's always nice, to be able to get to Wembley. Obviously we got to the FA Cup semi-final as well against United last year, which kind of hindered our league position a little bit, I think. But yeah, it's always a nice trip to Wembley to go down Wembley Arch and see the players and just play in that amazing stadium. It wasn't to be, and it was always going to be hard to keep the players that we had together, especially the likes of Vic and Hamer, which them two pretty much dragged us to that playoff because nobody else was scoring or getting assists. Obviously we had a good back line as well, but it was just Luton's time. We got onto the penalty shootout, and it was just one final kick that we missed. Penalties at Wembley isn't the greatest for us because we've lost twice now in recent years. So
it didn't help. It was their end as well, wasn't it? And,
yeah, exactly. Both of them
seemed to go for them.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, looking forward then, so obviously you've now appointed Frank Lampard as manager. What's your initial impressions of his leadership and what expectations do you have for his tenure?
Little bit of a difficult one, really, because initially I weren't overly keen. I didn't want Robins to be sacked. But obviously, decisions are made and you've got to kind of roll with it, really.
Do you think it's a bit of a sort of a stepdad complex at the moment?
Yeah, I do. It's very weird, and I was expecting, especially the first game when he was announced, I was expecting that, all the players to be up for it and such a togetherness that we've seen before in the past. And there just wasn't. It was just relatively quite flat. And I think, I'm just trying to think, I think we lost the first game or we drew the first game.
Yeah.
I think it was, I can't remember who it was now. Sorry, my mind's gone blank a little bit, but yeah, it's not gone the way that I thought it would. I thought that the players would want to step up and play for him a little bit more. But maybe we just haven't got the players that can play the way that he wants to.
Yeah.
We've seen Mason Clark under Robbins didn't really get a look in, but he's been one of the best players so far in Lampard's tenure.
Yeah.
Radoni's had hit and miss games. Obviously, we've missed Haji Wright, and the other strikers aren't really setting the world alight. I like Bassett. He runs around a lot, but at the moment, that's all he's doing. For a striker, you've got to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. And he's not, no one else is doing that at the moment. So, yeah, I was, the more you think about Lampard coming into Coventry initially as well, the more it did make sense. He's got good championship experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, a brilliant midfielder that can hopefully bring, what he did on the pitch to our players. But like I said, it's been weird. I was just expecting more of a lift from the players, and it hasn't quite happened yet.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, as you say, it's early days, isn't it? So, that might be still very difficult to come in halfway through midway through the season.
And obviously, you're taking over from what will be or what is a manager legend. His name's up there with the likes of John Sillett and Curtis and Jimmy Hill. Is definitely up there with being. A lot of our followers, a lot of our fans, only know Mark Robins as manager.
Yeah.
So it's a shame, but we do have to get over it and we have to move on. And if Lampard can do half of what Robins did, then he'll go down in the history books as well.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the thing, isn't it? And I mean, at the moment, who do you think are those players that are sort of the standout performers? Not only for Robins, but I suppose for Lampard as well.
Yeah, obviously I've mentioned Mason Clark. Mason Clark's, hit the ground running under Lampard, and that's because he's being played in the right position.
Yeah.
And he's had a run of games, and he's scored. Unfortunately, it looks like he will be out for Saturday, along with Haji Wright. Mason Clark's picked up a hamstring injury that he had to come off on a couple of games ago at half time. But we had the thing that Robins did leave us with, and has given Lampard a squad that we haven't necessarily had in the past. And hopefully that squad can be utilised now, and hopefully people can make the step up and realise that if they do get a chance, that they've got to take it. You can't sit on your laurels. You can't just expect to be played just because, someone's injured. You've got to step up to the mark. And if you want to keep that shirt, you've got to keep playing for the manager. And, why wouldn't you want to play for an England legend in Frank Lampard, especially if you are a midfielder as well, Surely it's got to excite you. But at the moment, like I said, it feels a little bit flat at the moment.
Yeah, and hopefully that turns for you. I mean, memories of sort of looking at Norwich. What are your thoughts on Norwich as a club, and do you have any standout memories from matches between the two teams?
If I'm honest, I'm a little bit rubbish in remembering matches and stuff. I remember players and transfers and things like that a little bit, but my memory of matches, unless it's recent, it's not just Norwich, it's all teams. Or if something, is really, really stood out from me, I haven't got the greatest memory, but I do know that we do struggle against Norwich for some strange reason. You've always had quite good players. You've always played quite good football. I remember, I've played FPL, Fantasy Premier League for the past, since it started pretty much 2016, 2017. And I remember Norwich being in there and stuff and having Norwich players, and things like that. So, you've always played good football. We've always struggled against you. I thought our best chance probably was at the start of the season, to try and get a win in recent years. Again, it wasn't to be. But hopefully, because this team under Lampard is hit and miss.
Yeah.
We have had, when we lost 2-0 against West Brom, but first half we were the better side. We just couldn't take our chances. So if that happens, we do stand a chance. But we struggled to break down I'm not saying that you're going to play like this, but we struggled against Cardiff to break 10 men down, because they just sat 9 players back. It was very difficult, but I don't think you'll play like that. I think you'll, with the way I remember, Norwich playing, it was very much, a passing side, and that could play into our hands a little bit, especially being the away side.
Yeah.
Maybe using the counter-attacking a little bit more, but we've got to get our passing together a lot better than we have been in recent games, because it has been woeful.
Yeah, I obviously don't want to talk too much about Lampard, but when he was at Derby, he brought a team to Norwich, and the floodlights went out after about 78 minutes. And at the time, we were winning 3-2. We looked 2-1, sorry, and we ended up losing 3-2. So maybe a master of the dark arts. He might draw on that a little bit.
Hopefully, we had an issue with a referee against Cardiff on New Year's Day, and people were saying that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't Lampard in charge. So hopefully he might be able to bring something like that, and bring, we might be able to win against the teams that we've necessarily struggled against, the likes of yourselves and Preston, that we haven't beaten probably even longer. Spell that we haven't beaten them. It's been ridiculous with Preston, but yeah, we have struggled against you in the past. So hopefully he can change that, and hopefully the players can come out and actually play this week, because I've used it a lot this season, pretty much from word go. Our first game of the season against Stoke at their place, it's just been inconsistent. On and off the pitch, the players have been inconsistent. The manager's been inconsistent. The boardroom's been inconsistent. It's just been inconsistent. And I hate using the word a lot, but that's what it's been for me. Very inconsistent.
Very similar to Norwich, really. I mean, we've had a lot of injuries ourselves and a lot of suspensions. We haven't had the greatest disciplinary records this season, and we've really struggled in trying to sort of keep we've had some really good results, great results, but then equally some really poor results, like going to QPR about a month ago and losing 3-0. It was awful. But equally, you go to Kenilworth Road yesterday, New Year's Day, and pick up a 1-0 win. I know Luton are struggling a little bit this season, but difficult place to go, Kenilworth Road.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, we did beat Luton as well at our place, to be fair. Kenilworth's very small and tight and compact, though, isn't it? The fans are very much right on top of the players. I believe that was your first away win in the season as well?
Probably was. If it wasn't, it was probably the first for a long time. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was, to be honest, because we haven't been great away from home this season. I'm trying to think now. If we did beat Derby away from home, actually.
Okay.
But I'm struggling to think if we haven't won many away from home, to be honest. So
yeah, if it was.
I think did we not beat you earlier on this season, or was that last year?
That was last year.
Yeah, of course.
Oh no, you did. Yeah. So since us, I think if I did my research correct.
Yeah.
Since you last placed us.
Yes, correct.
That's the first away win that you've had.
Yeah, so I think that's a fair shout.
If you were coming to us, I'd be a little bit more confident, just because you haven't been very good on the road necessarily, but because we're coming to your place, you have won. Again, this is since you played us last on the 31st of August, I think it was. You've won 5 at home, you've drew 3, you've only lost 2. So that's not a bad record, to be fair, at home.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I haven't looked at our recent results since we last played you, but there's been, again, inconsistent. It's been up and down. We've had the win again. Everybody's beat Plymouth, to be fair, haven't they? So you can take that one out. But we beat Millwall at their place, and then we drew at our place, and then we beat Luton, we beat Middlesbrough. You see, we went to Middlesbrough, just before they went on their really good run, 3-0 at their place. So we can turn up.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm struggling to see when we're actually going to turn up. So hopefully it is Saturday against you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a decent game to be sure. To be fair, sorry, but I mean, sort of, I suppose we've probably discussed this really already. But what are your promotion prospects for this season? And you optimistic on that, or do you think it's going to be a couple of years yet?
Oh God! When Robbins was in charge, because we started slow under Robbins for 3 seasons pretty much in a row.
Yeah.
And we ended up, getting to, like I said, we got to a playoff final. We got to this FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. So we didn't think it would be any different this year. Obviously it has, because Robbins wasn't given the time. Lampard's in now. The players aren't necessarily, I don't know. I can't see that they're not playing for him. I just think they're going through very much a lull at the moment.
Yeah.
And, downbeat. But obviously we have shown glimpses that this side can play. Like I said, Middlesbrough being probably top of that pile, really, with how good Middlesbrough are. They were missing some players as well, to be fair. But, you're missing, I think you're still missing Sargent, aren't you?
Yeah, he won't be back till probably mid-January, I wouldn't suggest.
So, hopefully we can. You've still got good players, don't get me wrong, but Sargent's one of your main outlets that you had.
Absolutely.
The last time that you played us anyway. So hopefully we can exploit that, and we turn up. And if that happens, then yeah, we may get a result. Look, coming to a team like Norwich, I'm happy with just, I won't go into the prediction because you haven't asked me yet, but yeah, I'll be happy with some sort of 10th upwards, if I'm honest. I don't expect us, if you asked me at the start of the season where I wanted us to finish, and I thought we would be fighting for automatics, if I'm honest.
Right.
But yeah, considering that everything's happened, and obviously Robbins has left, Lampard's come in, we're not playing very well. I'll be happy with top 10 at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, again, we'll probably come on to it later, but I'm the same. I'm in the same camp. I mean, we're very much in a transitional season now. And we'd happily, I say we, as if I'm speaking for every Norwich fan. I'm not. I think a lot of Norwich fans would want us to be at the top of the league, but realistically, I think where it's anywhere sort of 10th and above's a good result. And one thing I did want to talk to you about, which wasn't in the original list, was Highfield Road and the Rico. Not the Rico Arena anymore. It's changed names now, hasn't it? But talk to me a little bit about those two stadiums, memories of Highfield Road, and perhaps your thoughts on the new stadium.
Oh, well.
And the stadiums in between, like Northampton, etc.
Well, yeah, Highfield Road was home, basically. We still sing about it now in some of our songs. I remember Robbie Keane's debut at Highfield Road, Dublin, Huckabee, Mickey Quinn, and some of them guys that I fondly remember, because I always, as a kid, I always made sure that I got to the first game of the season, because the summer transfers, I always wanted to see, their first games and what they're like, sort of thing. And I was there for Robbie Keane's opener, and one of my favourite players for Coventry City, and it was just, and then sadly, obviously, we had to leave and we went to the Rico.
Yeah.
It took a long, long time for it to feel like home. And if I'm honest, it's probably the past 3-4 years that it's started to feel like home. We've been in there for a long, long time now, and again, I know I need to get over Robbins a little bit, but he was very much a part of making what is now the Coventry Building Society Arena, the CBS.
Yeah.
his part of that and have made it, home for us, if you like. And obviously Doug King's, come in, and for all of his things that he's done wrong and what he's got wrong, he's brought in a few good things, and there's a lot more pictures dotted around of history and players, and that he's done that as well. So for all of his faults, he has done some good things as well, and making that feel more at home for us. He's done that as well. So yeah.
Of course, he's a Norwich fan as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Again, we've got that link, haven't we? Our owner and stuff as well. So, but yeah, look, he's got his faults, but he has done some good as well. But he's got to help Frank Lampard now with this side, because they do need help.
Do you think you will spend in the January transfer window?
The honest answer is no. I think we'll probably see more loans come in, unless there's some deals that he's going to do, which is like maybe a loan to buy. You might find that there's a couple of them and a couple of loans. In the past, he's been against loans, but I just think that I just don't think Lampard would have come in without knowing that he was going to be allowed to get players in, and January is always a hard transfer window anyway.
Yeah.
I find I don't like it. If they got rid of it tomorrow, it wouldn't bother me one iota. There's summers where all the dealings come in, isn't it? And the wheeling and dealing and the bigger transfers are always happening there. It's always hard, in January, but I would imagine hopefully there'll be a few loans. I believe that with Lampard's come out and already said that there's going to be no one coming in before our game against you. So obviously it will be after that. But I believe you may have a new player coming in, mightn't you?
Potentially, yeah. I think there's been talk of Lewis Dobbin that was on loan at West Brom earlier this season, the first part of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to Norwich, as opposed to being at West Brom, where apparently he didn't do that well. So
look, I don't think he'll necessarily come in and jump straight in, because I think he plays on Science's side, doesn't he? He plays on the left more, I think. Have I read something right or heard something right that Science might be out for a while? He might be banned for a while.
Potentially, he's got it seems to be a common theme with Norwich at the moment, an FA ban hanging over a player. I mean, Kenny McLean's already had an 4-game bans. Angus Gunn maybe was due one, but then escaped with a fine. Science has apparently spat at a Sunderland. I don't know if it was a fan or a player. So the FA are looking at that, and I think if he has done that, that would be quite a significant ban.
Wow. Okay.
And that's being heard at the moment, I believe. So that it may, what we see here Thursday, it may even be, but we might even hear something tomorrow on that one. So he could be out of the game. I'll be honest, he hasn't been great the past few games. Maybe with this hanging over him. So it will be interesting to see what happens for sure. Yeah. And then you're right, it might be that this young man then comes in, but we do have other players that can sort of fit into that role. But you're right, it's going to be an interesting one for sure. So just to finish off then, Stuart, thank you so much for coming on, by the way.
No, thank you for having me.
Just have a prediction, as you alluded to earlier. I think we have a little prediction ahead of the game. I'll let you go first.
Oh God. If we turn up, we might get something, but on recent form, the honest answer is I'd be happy with a draw. I say it on our podcast a lot. You draw your away games, you win your home games, and you'll be somewhere close.
Yeah.
And at the moment, even though Lampard hasn't gotten playing the way that he wants and very fast and attacking football, he is picking up points, draws here and there and wins. Yeah, it's come up, we've had a couple of losses, Burnley and West Brom, but we've beaten Millwall, we've beaten Luton, Mark Robbins, I think, was in charge of Middlesbrough. We beat Plymouth, but you've still got to pick up them points anyway.
Yeah.
So if we turn up, I think we might give you a game, and we might be able to scrape a win, but on recent form, I'll go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to say we'd win. I think we've been okay at home recently. As you say, only really losing to Burnley and Bristol City this season. So yeah, I think you'll score. I think it'll be 2-1.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And as you again alluded to earlier, a lot of it depends on what's happening with Signs, because he's been a key player for us. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, it'll just be an interesting one, really. So I'm looking forward to the game. So
yeah, it should be good.
As I always do.
I'll be trying to find somewhere to watch it if I can.
Absolutely.
But yeah, unfortunately, not going. But yeah, I have been Norwich before anyway. I do quite like the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a great location. To be fair, It's something we've discussed previously on the pod. It's just, right near the train station, on the edge of the city. But yeah, it's superb. We love it for obvious reasons.
Yeah, definitely. So you should.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks once again, Stuart, for everyone listening. You can
mate.
Give me a couple of minutes then, mate. I'll jump on. We are available on all social media channels, including Facebook, X, and Instagram. Thanks for listening, and tune in soon.